Hello, I'm Bethany from Bethany Wellness. Join me for this Connect yoga class. Hello everyone, I'm so glad you could join me today for this Connect yoga class. What do you need to connect to today? Do you need to just connect to breath and have a few moments of peace? Do you need to connect your mind, your body, your spirit? Do you need to connect to your life's purpose? Whatever it is, let's just spend a loving yoga practice today to connect and to feel that we just have everything in alignment with what we should be doing. Let's start in Shavasana. And some items you may wish to gather would be blocks and a blanket. Just connecting here to your mat in Shavasana. And settle into your mat. So just the feeling of the ground beneath you, and notice that feeling. Think about melting down or sinking down into your mat. Letting breath flow steadily in and out through your nose. Today we will focus our practice on connecting. So sometimes in the busyness of a life, we might feel a little bit disconnected from our mind, our body, our spirit, or even disconnected from our breath, or disconnected from the present moment. So let's think about in today's practice, connecting. And as we begin here, let's connect to our breath. So just feeling that steady flow of breath in and out through your nose, feeling the belly rising and falling with each breath. Connecting to the fullness of breath as breath travels from the belly up towards your shoulders. And thinking about the reality of when we connect to our breath, we're drawn into calm and we're drawn into the present moment. Take a moment here to notice your body from head to toe, scanning and just feeling any sensations in your body. And just notice with a curiosity. Sometimes it's hard to not have critical thought or judgment as we're noticing things in our own thoughts or in our own body. But here, just observe, just be a curious observer. And then let's connect with the 4-7-8 breath. So place the tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your 2 front teeth. Then inhale through your nose for the count of 4. Hold your breath for the count of 7. Then exhale out your mouth for the count of 8, pursing your lips together like you're blowing out candles. So a little bit of a forceful exhale. And let's do that 3 more times. Do your own counting. Inhaling through your nose for 4, holding for 7, exhaling out your mouth for 8. And then you can settle into your comfortable breathing pattern after your last 4-7-8 breath. Just think about how you feel when you connect with your breath. If you have days where you might be having shallow breathing, especially if you're having busyness or stress or anxiety, and if you can just switch over to connecting to nice, full breaths, breathing in and out through your nose, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It just takes a few cycles of breath to notice a shift, to notice a change in how you feel. Then reach your arms overhead, take an overall stretch. You can take a soft, kind of relaxed stretch here, just letting the elbows bend a little bit, or you can be more active with your stretch, really straightening the elbows, activating the fingertips. You can even activate the toes, pointing the toes. You can choose here in your stretch if you'd like to be more gentle or if you'd like to be a little more active. Then draw your feet to the mat, hug the knees in. So wrapping hands around the shins or behind the thighs. Feel free to widen the knees here. Sometimes the knees drawn together might feel a little bit pinching on those hip flexor muscles. So sometimes it's nice to widen the knees. Wake up your feet, point and flex your toes, go around in circles with your feet, getting the ankles, just waking it up. And here in your practice, let's think about connecting mind, body, and spirit. So in these moments of stillness, in these moments of being present here, really just imagine that you're connecting your mind, your body, your spirit, finding that they're in alignment. Good, then bring your feet to the wide edges of the mat, so releasing the feet down, knees are drawn wide, feet are drawn wide. You can bring your arms to a T or just have them down kind of by your sides. Take a nice breath in. Then exhale, windshield wiper the legs to the left. So just a nice open spinal twist, more of a gentle spinal twist. Spending a few breaths on this side. Breathing in and out through your nose. I talk a lot about breathing with your nose in this class because it's a use it or lose it scenario. If you're not breathing with your nose, if you're always mouth breathing, your nasal tissues will tend to close off and tend to get kind of full, and then it becomes more challenging to breathe with your nose. Inhale back to center, exhale, release to the right, so windshield wiper your legs to the right. And when we can breathe with our nose, we're activating that parasympathetic nervous system. We're also drawing in about an 18% greater saturation of oxygen, which is more beneficial, of course, for our mind and our body. Come back to center. Now at this time, go ahead and flow with your windshield wiper legs. So you can choose if it feels good to flow, maybe holding one breath per side, just feeling kind of that fluid nature as you connect your breath to your movement. So feeling that connection of breath and movement feels very fluid. It feels very natural. So just feel that in your body. Just notice what feels good as you're connecting your breath with your movement. I would suggest inhaling the legs to center, then exhaling the legs to each side. So feeling that flow of the movement and breath. Maybe do one more per side. So one more to the left, one more to the right. And then come back to center, hug the knees in. And then bring some space between the knees and torso. So rather than hugging them in tightly, bringing some space and letting the knees shine up towards the ceiling. Rest the hands on your knees, go in circles. So just finding a little pattern of circles, tracing circles towards the ceiling, starting a little smaller and then exploring and deciding if you'd like to go a little larger with your circles. Just notice that little bit of massage you might feel on your sacrum, kind of on that low back. And then switch direction of your circles, going in the other direction. Bringing a little bit of space into the hips. Good, then bring your feet back to the mat. Hands rest down by your sides. Connect your back to the mat. So you might need to do a little bit of a pelvic tilt to find that there's no space between your lumbar curve and the mat. Then draw your feet up to an imaginary table. Arms can rest by sides. As a matter of fact, bring your palms face down for a little bit of leverage, a little bit of support. And so as your feet are on that imaginary table, we should still have no space underneath the lumbar spine. So staying here, then you can bring your arms overhead, reaching up. There is space between our hands, so imagine there's maybe just a little sphere in between your palms. You're kind of just activating the shoulders, activating the chest. And you can stay right here for your first variation. Or second option here is to play around with lowering one leg at a time and drawing it back in and just alternating. So we're exhaling as we're alternating, removing one leg down. And you don't have to do that much, maybe halfway. You're going to notice the core connects. So that's one option. The final option, if you would like to try it with me, is to bring opposite arm overhead with the opposite leg reaching down. And we're exhaling as we're extending, and then inhaling as you bring it back in. And you can choose how far you would like the leg to lower down. You can choose how far you'd like the arm to reach overhead. Pay attention to the connection with your core. You will begin to notice if you lose connection because your low back will want to lift up off of that mat. And so just flowing here with breath, going at your own pace, listening to your body. I'm going to do about 3 more at this pace. You can choose to join me, or you can choose to go at another variation that works in your body today. We always like to wake up and connect to our core in our yoga practice. And then when you're done, hug the knees in for a breath or 2. And then release the legs and feet, take an overall stretch. So bring the arms overhead, releasing the legs down. Let your back lift up off of the mat. So after we've had that back connected to the mat, let's let it lift. Let that natural lumbar curve come back. And just feel the expansion of the chest and the belly as you're letting them lift up towards the sky. Good, then find your block. Bring your feet to the mat. And pressing through your feet, lift the hips up and slide the block underneath your hips. So it's going across your spine between the right and left hip. And then just let your sacrum rest on the block. And if you'd rather do a pillow's fine here also. And then arms can rest down by your sides, or sometimes it's nice to place the hands to the belly, just to really notice those belly breaths as you're connecting in this pose, connecting to your breath. And then you can choose to widen the feet and knees a little more if that feels better. Find a nice flow of breath here, taking some deeper inhales, some longer exhales. I'm reading the book called Breath. It's written by James Nestor, and he talks a lot about how it's a lost art, but it's always been there. Just the ability to breathe in and out through our nose and to connect to steady breath throughout our day. And he also talks about the importance of the exhale, having a nice long exhale. Sometimes we're used to taking a deep breath in, so our inhale, but we might not be used to taking a nice full exhale. So just notice that in this space, in this time. And one final option you may wish to consider in this pose is cactusing the arms. So just bringing the elbows bent around shoulder height. The tops of your hands can rest on the ground. Or taking a more narrow cactus arm would be kind of interlacing the fingers or connecting the hands over your head with the elbows bent. So that's another option here. Just explore, just see what feels good in your practice today and connect to that variation. Every day is different, so what felt good in your practice yesterday may not feel good today. Let's just take a few more breaths in this pose and just emphasize and notice the pelvic region. So this pose really helps draw the pelvic floor up, so the muscles kind of can relax a little bit. Also helps draw the organs up, so thinking about your bladder. If you're a female still that has a uterus, your uterus kind of draws back up. It's just allowing that space, allowing those organs to go back up into that cavity. Good. Bring the arms down by your sides, pressing through the feet, lift your hips up, and slowly remove the block. Keep your hips lifted here for bridge pose. So in bridge pose, arms rest by sides as your hips are lifted. You can stay right here. That's the first option. Another option would be to tuck the right shoulder blade under and then the left. So it's a little bit of a shelf there to support your shoulders and your chest. Final option would be seeing if you're able to connect your hands underneath your sits bones. And then keeping your gaze up, emphasizing the pressure that you're pressing through the feet. There's a gentle hugging in of the inner thighs, keeping the knees in alignment. And also trying to see if you can keep the hips in alignment. Sometimes we might be having one hip sinking down in this pose. So really notice trying to keep the hips lifted evenly. Keep your gaze up so we're not looking around in this pose. One more breath. And then if you had that third variation of having the hands interlaced and the shoulder blades, release it now. So release the left shoulder blade, then release the right so that you feel nice and connected through the shoulder blades on the mat. And then begin to slowly lower down, one vertebrae at a time. When you get to your ribs, lift those heels up, coming into the tippy toes, and then slowly lower down all the way to the tailbone, and then hug the knees in. And from here, with the knees hugged in, you can choose to rock up to a seated position, rocking forward and back, or you can choose to roll to one side and just rise up from your side. And find a seated pose that works in your body. So I'm going to choose cross-legged for me, but I'm going to choose a blanket. I'm going to roll it up a little bit here and sit on the blanket, but I'm sitting towards the front of the roll so that my sits bones kind of tilt down a little bit. It just helps. You'll notice how that if you sit towards the front of a blanket, the spine lengthens up. And then keep the hands maybe resting down into your lap or on your thighs. Let's connect to breath in this pose. So remember, each time we change a pose in yoga, our breath tends to change. So let's reconnect to the breath. And feeling the breath begin in the low belly. And then as you inhale through your nose, it travels up towards the shoulders. Pause for a moment before you exhale out your nose. Now inhale the arms high, bringing the arms up to extended mountain. Then exhale as you slowly trace your breath down from the forehead to the waist. So exhaling, tracing breath down with the palms down. Let's do that a few more times. Inhale, rise up. And as you inhale through your nose, you can exhale out your mouth as you trace the breath down. You can even exhale with a slight sigh if you would like. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale through the nose, arms high. Exhale, trace the breath down. One more time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, trace the breath down. Good. Give your arms a little shimmy, a little shake. Good. Then inhale, reach arms up. Exhale to side bend to the left. So releasing the left arm down, taking a gentle side bend. Make sure your left shoulder releases away from your ear. Just opening that side body. Inhale back to center. Exhale, side bend to the right. Nice gentle opening, staying connected to breath. Inhale back to center. Connect hands at heart center. Gaze down to fingertips. And think about here, connecting to whatever you feel you need to connect to today at this moment. Whether it's just connecting to your creator, the creator that made you, whether it's a God that you believe in, or whatever it is that drives your values, your decisions, maybe connecting to that in this moment. Maybe you just need to connect to quiet, stillness, a couple more breaths. Just find what you'd like to connect to. Good. Then inhale, reach the arms high. Exhale, take a spinal twist to the left. So bring that left hand behind you. You may wish to tripod the fingers behind you. And then bring your right hand to your left thigh for just a little gentle twist. Inhale back to center. Both arms reach up. Exhale, twist to the right. Right arm behind you. And the left arm to your right thigh. Inhale back to center, both arms high. Connect the hands at heart center. Reconnect here to the breath and connecting to what it is that you came back to, that you need to connect to today. It's in the moments of busyness that it's very important to connecting to stillness, connecting to whatever helps you to find purpose in your day. One more breath. Then release the arms down, give them a little shimmy. Good. Then resting hands down to your lap, take a gaze up, looking up towards the ceiling, opening the front of your neck. And you can go a little bit more if that's comfortable, or just a little bit less, just finding that range of motion that feels good. And tuck the chin down towards the chest, stretching the back of the neck. Staying connected to your breath. Good, then gaze straight ahead, then turn to the left. So just looking towards the left. You decide how your range of motion feels today. Starting more gentle is always advised, and then you can go a little deeper as you've explored your range of motion. Inhale back to center, then exhale, gaze to the right. Inhale back to center, slowly release, left ear towards left shoulder. You can stay right here, or you can bring the right arm out and just take a little bit of an angle, just depending on how it feels in your neck. You may wish to lower the arm or raise the arm. And let's create our little bird beak. So bring your thumb and your fingertips together, so it's got that little bit of that bird beak, and then bend the beak inward towards your elbow. So we're bending at the wrist, getting a nice stretch through the forearm and the wrist and up into the neck. Good, then stretch the fingers out back to the side, so no longer have that bird beak. And then this time, flex the fingers up towards the sky. So bending at the wrist in the opposite direction. One more breath. Good, then release the arm down, bring the head back to center. Take a few breaths in the center. Other side, release right ear down towards right shoulder. Starting with a few breaths before we bring the arm into the pose. And that's just an option. If that doesn't feel good to you, you don't obviously have to join me in that variation. If you would like to, though, go ahead and bring the left arm out, choose the height of that arm. And then once you feel like you have the height that feels good, create that little beak, bringing the fingertips together. And then bend at the wrist, connecting that beak inward towards the elbow. You can still change the height of the arm here too if it feels better to lower it or bring it up. Good, then stretch the fingers out, so no longer have the bird beak, and then flex the fingers up. So we're bringing the fingers up towards the sky, just bending at the wrist in the opposite direction. Good, then bring the arm back down, bring your head back to center. Give it a little shimmy or shake. Sometimes it's nice to just release after that stretch. Let's do a few more breath traces. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, trace breath down. And again, inhale, arms high. Exhale, trace breath down. And always inhale through your nose on this if you can. You can exhale out the mouth or the nose. One last breath. Inhale, arms high. Exhale, trace breath down. Wonderful. And let's come into tabletop, but on the long side of your mat so we can prepare for gait pose. So in tabletop, wrists are under shoulders, knees are under your hips. And then stretch your left leg out and plant the left foot down. The toes are forward. So that's a big stretch through the ankle. If that's uncomfortable, you can rotate the toes out if that feels better. So for gait pose, lots of options here. You can keep the hands connected to the ground for support. Or you can begin to walk the hands up towards your hips and just stay here. Maybe that feels comfortable for your gait pose today. Big opening through that hip, through that inner thigh, and through the ankle. Final option would be bringing the arms up and exhaling into the side bend for your gait pose. So pick whichever variation works for you today. Staying with breath, connecting into the pose. being connected in mind, body, and spirit as you connect with breath. One more breath. Then inhale, bring both arms up if you joined me for that last variation, and then connect the hands down to the ground, connect the leg back in. Switching sides, bring the right foot out, planting the right foot down as you stretch the right leg. And you can choose to rotate the foot a little bit if that feels more comfortable. First option is keeping hands connected to the ground. Second option is connecting hands to hips. Or final option is bringing the arms up and exhaling into your gait. So just explore here, see what option feels appropriate for your practice today. Steady your breath. And if you had the final option, bring both arms up first, then release the hands down for your gait and bring that leg, tucking it back in. And then let's find table, rotate into your tabletop pose on your mat. Shimmying a little bit just to find your neutral spine, finding your alignment. So we're connecting to alignment first. So this practice is all about connecting today. So we're connecting to our alignment, connecting to our body, connecting mind, body, and spirit, and breath. So always taking a minute to connect first. Then let's go through cow-cat. Inhale, release the belly down, take your gaze forward or up. Then exhale, tuck and round into cat pose, gazing back towards your thighs, tucking chin towards chest. Go at your own pace, linking your breath with your movement. So feeling that connection of movement with breath. Maybe starting a little more gentle before you go a little bit deeper into the movement. Feeling that flow with your breath. Let's do one more cow, one more cat. And come back to table. Connecting to balancing table. First, reach your right arm to the front, and then you'll notice here how things shift a little bit. Suddenly, my hips move a little bit to find my balance. So you can stay right here, or you can walk the left leg back a little bit and have your big toes touching for support, or you can bring the left foot up for your balancing table. So 3 options there. Connect to what feels good in your body. Connect to your balance, to your core strength, and to your breath. One more breath here. Then come back into table. Other side. So let's explore here first in the table. So feeling the connection in table first. And then left arm this time reaches to the front, and then just establish here some balance before you choose what you'd like to do with the right leg. So starting maybe with right toes touching, and then deciding if you'd like to lift the leg up. Flexing the foot on that back leg. So if you have it stretched back, flex the foot so the heel presses to the back wall. Keep your gaze down. Steady breath. Good. Then release into table. Exhale, child's pose. Sink hips to heels. Bring your forehead to rest. Arms overhead. Think about this pose as a letting go pose. So letting go of anything that interferes with you connecting in your practice today. You can also think about drawing in whatever it is you would like to connect to in your practice. Connecting to peace, connecting to calm, just connecting to breath or creator, whatever it is for you. Find that connection. Good. Then inhale, rise back up into table. And let's bring the right leg out to the side, so kind of that fire hydrant motion. And let's do 10 of those on the right. So exhale as you lift the right leg up. Inhale as you drop back in, strengthening the right hip, the right glutes. And just go at your own pace here. You can count to 10. 10 of these leg lifts to the side. Exhale as you lift it up. Inhale as you draw it in. And as you draw it in, the right knee hovers. So we're not resting that right knee down. We're not really taking a rest in between these leg lifts. We're continuing on that strengthening with the breath. Good. And when you're done with your 10, just connecting to table. And other side when you're ready. Left leg lift out to the side. Draw it back in. Exhale as you lift it up. Inhale as you lower it down. And you can stop halfway. Maybe 5 is your number today. Maybe 10 doesn't work in your body today, and that's okay. Good. And when you're done, let's release to the forearms for puppy pose. So elbows release down, forearms release down. Hips stay lifted here, and your gaze is down. You can choose to kind of widen the knees a little bit more and begin to bring the forehead to resting on the mat if that feels good. Or resting on a block. Lots of different variations in each pose, so it's a matter of just exploring and finding which variation will work today. Good. If you had your forehead resting down, go ahead and lift the forehead up, but stay in your forearms here and stretch the right leg back, pressing into the ball of your right foot. And just a gentle pressing. So just begin to see if your heel and your calf muscle like a little stretch there. You can press a little bit more, but just avoid overstretching here. Sometimes we create a strain if we're trying to press beyond our limits. One more breath. Good. Then connect to table. So coming back up into the palms. And now with that same leg, that right leg, press into the top of your right foot, but lift the knee up off of the mat. So kind of hovering the knee, getting a nice stretch through the front of the shin, the front of the ankle. And then let's do that funny little noodle leg where you just have a nice relaxed leg and you're going to shimmy the right leg side to side. My foot's even kind of acting like a noodle, just shaking it out. Very good. Come back into table, then lower down into your forearms for the other side. Stretch the left foot back, the left leg stretches back. Press into the ball of your left foot. Connect to your breath. One more breath. Good. Then draw that left leg back in. Rise up into table. So through the palms, connect to the table, to your tabletop. And then the left foot will press into the mat. Lift the left knee up. So a nice stretch as you hover the left knee above the mat. You'll feel the stretch through the front of your foot, your ankle, your shin. And one more breath here. And then begin to let the left leg be nice and relaxed as you shimmy the left leg side to side. A little bit of that noodle leg. Very good. Then release back to table and sink to child's pose. Knees or hips draw back to your heels. Knees can be drawn wide if that feels better in your child's pose. Connecting to breath, nice deep breaths in through your nose, out through your nose. Then inhale, rise up into table. Curl your toes. Take a little bit of a sitting back towards your heels as your toes are curled. So you'll feel a nice stretch through the arches of your feet into the calf muscles. And I'm going to choose to do fists here to support me. My wrists are getting a little tired. My wrists get tired quickly. So sometimes it's nice to just do fists so that your wrists are straight. And then another option here is to sink the hips back a little more as you lift the knees up and take a low squat. And here you can tripod your fingers to support you in the pose so you don't feel unstable in your balance. And then however you would like to come up to standing, you can just take a forward fold as you lift the hips up, coming into a forward fold. You can widen the feet a little bit, bend the knees, give your head and neck a nod. Just make sure you're not holding any tension in your head or neck. Inhale to a halfway lift. Draw your hands to your shins. Shoulder blades come together. Creating a number 7 with your body. So nice flat back and straight legs. Now if you want to micro bend the knees a little bit, if that feels better, that's fine. And bring the arms out to a T. Rise all the way up. Extended mountain, arms overhead. And connect your hands at heart center. Bring your arms by your sides for mountain pose. I'm going to just connect towards the top of my mat. I ended up towards the bottom of my mat. So for mountain pose, find the foundation through your feet. So we're lifting the toes up and spreading the toes a little bit. We're feeling even pressure between the right and left foot. And then we're also noticing even pressure under the 4 corners of our feet. So under the big toe joint, under the pinky toe joint, so along the ball of the foot there, and then on each side of your heel. Let's do some breath traces. Inhale, rise arms up. Exhale, trace the breath down, nice and slow from forehead to waist. Do that again. Inhale, rise arms up. Exhale, trace breath down. One more time. Inhale, rise arms up. Exhale, trace breath down. Arms by sides, mountain pose. Bring arms overhead on an inhale, interlace fingers, and then press the palms up towards the sky and lift out of your heels for palm tree pose. And you can choose to just lift one heel at a time if you're working on your balance. You can choose to slightly lift the heels. They don't have to be lifted very much. Or if you'd like a challenge, you can try to lift those heels up nice and high, coming into the balls of your feet. Steady breath. One more breath. Then release the heels, exhale into a chair pose. So sitting down into your chair, arms overhead, shoulder height or heart center. Knees and feet match. So if you have your feet together, your knees should be together. Feet apart would be knees apart. Connecting hands at heart center for one last breath in your chair pose. And exhale, forward fold. Soften down and release. You can bend the knees here. You can widen the feet. Give your head a nod, yes and no. Inhale, halfway lift. Draw your hands to your shins. Nice flat back, creating that number 7. Bring arms out to a T. Rise all the way up. Extended mountain, arms overhead. Connect hands at heart center. Drawing that attention inward. Connecting mind, body, and spirit. Connecting to breath. Inhale, both arms high. Exhale, open arm twist to the right. Bring the right arm behind you, left arm in the front. Take your gaze towards the back hand. Hips are forward, a little bit of that spinal twist. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, open arm twist to the left. Inhale, back to center, both arms high. Interlace fingers, palm tree pose. Lift out of those heels. Finding the variation that works for you today, exploring your options, giving yourself patience and grace. You're still connecting whichever variation you choose, and you're still connecting even if you fall out of the pose. Reconnect. Then exhale into chair. Squat down into your chair. There's a gentle tucking of the tailbone in this pose. We're not overly tucking it though, because we don't want to be completely rounding through the pose. There's still a nice lumbar curve, a natural lumbar curve, but we're also not overly arching our lumbar spine. One more breath. Connect hands to heart center. Exhale, forward fold. Soften down. Head and neck relax. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands draw to shins, creating that number 7. Arms come out to a T. Inhale as you rise up, extended mountain. Connect the palms together at heart center. Good. Then bring the arms down by the sides. You can give your arms a little shake. Sometimes it's nice to give a little wiggle in your yoga practice. And let's connect here for shooting star. So coming to the wide part of your mat, widen the feet. And first in shooting star, we're just going to draw our attention to the one foot. So we're drawing our attention to the left foot, thinking about shifting the weight a little bit over to the left, and then slowly beginning to lift the right foot up, and then choosing to lift the left arm high for that counterbalance. Shooting star. And then that right foot is flexed. Now you can also have the right toe touching if you'd like support in your shooting star today. Steady breath. So we're connecting to breath the entire time, which helps us focus. It helps us be calm when we're challenging ourselves, helps us stay present in the moment. Then slowly lower down out of your shooting star. Give it a little shake. Can bear swing. Nice breath in and a sigh as you exhale. Nice letting go breath. All right, so other side, widen the feet. Bringing that attention this time to the right foot. Thinking about maybe just a subtle shifting of the body weight into the right foot. Lifting that left foot up as you bring the right arm high. And you can choose big toe to touch for support in your shooting star. Steady your breath. Find your focal point, something to gaze at. One more breath. And slowly release down, shake it all out. Bear swings if you'd like to join me with the bear swings. Just a nice relaxed arms, kind of twisting a little bit through the torso. Breath in and out. Good. Let's connect down to the mat for boat pose. For boat pose, our heels are rooted down, toes are up. Shimmying a little bit side to side so you're feeling even pressure through your sits bones. And then begin to lean back. You'll begin to notice the core is connecting. It's holding on here. We don't want to lean back too far because then the core gets kind of tired or lazy, and then the back might take some of that strain, which we don't want. So we want the core connected the entire time. So leaning back, arms can reach out to the front. You can also play around with lifting up one foot, taking a breath, lowering it down, other foot, taking a breath. You can bring hands behind your thighs. Or final option would be if you feel you can maintain the core connection, both feet can lift up. Take your gaze up. Maybe not entirely up, but a little bit up with the gaze. A little bit of shaking maybe going on here with the core connecting, but also getting a workout, getting that strength. One more breath. Good. And slowly rise back up. And let's come to butterfly pose. So connecting the soles of the feet in front of you and drawing those feet in a little bit if you like a more deeper stretch, or having the feet farther away for more gentle. Maybe give your feet a little attention, give them a little massage. Just notice your feet. Or connect to your feet, right? Good. And then let's stretch our legs out, sitting down here, sitting up tall, stretching the legs out. The toes are active, and then bring the arms or the tripod fingers behind you. So we're lifting up a little bit through our tripod fingers. You're just going to feel a nice lengthening through the spine, supporting yourself with your tripod fingers, and of course opening up the back of the legs. And you can choose here if you'd like to just take a little bit of a hinge forward, just a subtle pressing through the tripod fingers. Good, and let's give those legs a little shimmy. The next one, you can bring the right foot on the outside of the left thigh and hug the right leg in, staying lifted tall. That's one variation. The other variation is connecting the left heel to your right sits bone and then wrapping the right foot outside of the left thigh and hugging in. So either variation, whichever works in your body today. I'm going to go with the first variation. Sometimes you try each variation and then you decide what's going to work, what feels good. And then if you're maintaining a nice flow of breath, you know you picked the right variation. If your breath becomes shallow or erratic, that might be a little too intense. So your breath has a way of telling you if it's the good choice for your pose today. And just a couple more nice full breaths here. Good, then uncross that leg, give them a little shimmy side by side. And then switching, so this time the left foot draws outside of the right leg and then hug the left thigh in. Staying lifted tall. And you can take that other variation if you like the second variation. You can connect the right heel to your left sits bone and then bring the left foot outside of the right thigh. And just keep the left leg hugged in. How's your breath? Connect to your breath. In and out through your nose. Unless your nose is completely blocked, I get it. Sometimes we just got to breathe no matter what, but try to connect to those nostril breaths if you can. Good. Then release. Give your legs a little shimmy, a little wiggle, and then let's connect to the mat lying down and hug the legs in. Taking your time in the transition, so just allowing that subtle and slow movement, a very intentional movement. You can widen the knees a little bit here, especially after we just did that more intense stretch through the glutes. Sometimes it's nice to bring openness again through the hips, so you might wish to really widen the knees in this hugging in pose. Good, then bring your feet to the mat and arms to a T. If we're going to prepare here for spinal twist, if you like a deeper twist, bring your feet and knees together. For more gentle would be the feet and knees drawn wide. Nice breath in, then exhale, let the legs fall to the left. You can gaze up or to the right. Connecting to nice full breaths here, bringing that circulation through the torso. Inhale, legs to center. Exhale, let them release to the right. Gaze is up or to the left. Inhale, legs to center, hug them in one final time. And release your legs and feet down for final surrender, Shavasana Pose. You can choose here if you'd like your legs stretched out or if you'd like your legs bent. You can choose to cover up with your blanket or put your socks on or a long sleeve. You can choose to rest your hands to your belly to notice your breath. And connect to deep breaths here. Some nice deep inhales and longer exhales. In and out through your nose. Allow each breath to draw you into this moment, drawing you into calm, helping you to connect your mind, your body, your spirit, and helping you to connect to whatever it is you need to connect to today. Each breath draws you in a little deeper into the mat, melting down into the mat. Relaxing all the muscles in your body, starting with your face. Your forehead opens, eyebrows and eyelids are soft, nostrils release, and mouth and jaw neutral. Relaxation settles into your neck and shoulders, releasing the shoulders down into the ground. Both arms filled with relaxation, moving down through your hands to the tips of your fingers. Torso and your hips release down a little more, feeling the support beneath you. And both legs filled with relaxation, moving through your ankles to your feet, to the tips of your toes. Feeling connected to this moment of stillness, feeling a sense of peace and calm wash over you. Final surrender, Shavasana. Take a nice deep breath in as you bring awareness back and bring some movement as you wiggle your fingers and toes and bend at the wrist and the ankles. And take your time as you slowly roll to your side, spending a few breaths on your side. And then help yourself to rise up to a comfortable seated position on your mat. I thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your yoga practice today. We'll end with the phrase Namaste, which means a teacher in me honors a teacher in you. Namaste, and be well.